Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome back to all of you participants. So, participants, yesterday when I was trying to do the deployment, it has been a very challenging job to do the deployment. But after 5 minutes or after 10 minutes of struggling, what was a mistake? I was able to get the deployment done. So, let me show you the screenshot of the deployment, and I'll tell you where was the mistake all about. So, this is the screenshot of the deployment that I've done. So I was able to resolve the traffic and I got the output, and it took around about 5-10 minutes after the session. So when I concluded, it took me another 5-10 minutes to get the output done. Okay, so let me tell you what was the mistake that I have done. The mistake was in this service file. The deployment file was all good. There was no issue in the deployment file. Deployment file was all good. The only issue was at the service file. The service file, what I have noticed when I was trying to go ahead and do the specification for the service, trying to go ahead and do a specification, or when it was trying to go ahead and select the service was not selecting the right application. So what I have done at line number 7, this was the only change that I've done, that I said, hey, go ahead and select that application, which is with the name My App. Just like a Spark, it went through. So participants, this is what is the change that you have to do at line number 7, app equal to My App. So participants, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and share this file with all of you so that you can use this and start doing the deployments. With that, I was able to go ahead and do a deployment. Let me quickly share this file with you. These are the deployment files that I've made it as. I'm going to share with you. And please confirm me, participants, if you're able to go ahead and use it. I've shared the link in the chat window. Kindly let me know if you're able to download it. If you're good, then we can proceed for the day. Participants are able to use this file, are able to download it. Can anyone please give me a confirmation? Are you able to download it? I'm sharing this file once.
Yes, Kumar.
You're able to download it, right? Cool.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, participants, with this, let's continue for our next project discussion here. So participants, now all we have been building, as you are aware, the DevOps pipelines. Now it's time for us to start building another set of pipeline. But this time we will not be using any of the open source products, because we have been using till now a lot of open source product that are out of AWS cloud. Or most of the time, the services are from outside the AWS cloud. So what AWS has done is AWS started to go ahead and give the idea of the pipeline. AWS has started to get this pipeline built, AWS DevOps pipeline built using their own services, or AWS has given their own services. So the services that fall under this category, under the pipeline, you'll get to see now. The first is the source code. So there is a service in AWS called code commit. So AWS code commit is a service that fall under the source category. For build and test, they have a service called code build. For deployment, they have the code deploy service. For connecting all these, they have the pipeline, which is AWS code pipeline. They have cloud formation. I hope you already are aware of what is cloud formation. So cloud formation does come under the provisioning, which you have already seen, which replaces the idea of infrastructure as code, where we have used Terraform. Monitoring, we have already seen CloudWatch. And now there is one such service that combines all of this capabilities, where you can deploy, provision, and monitor under Elastic Beanstalk. So participants, are we good with the list of services that AWS has to offer you? Under the source code, you have code commit, build and test, code build, connectivity or continuous integration involving different stages, code pipeline, code deploy, cloud formation, CloudWatch, and Elastic Beanstalk. Are we good, everyone, with the list of services that we have? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these services to build my own pipeline. And this is what is the architecture of the pipeline. So participants, now what is that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start doing the deployment of my application into this given architecture, or I'm going to go ahead and build my solution using this architecture. So how things are different here? The things are different, not much. The system will remain the same, where there will be a developer who is going to be the contributor for the source code, application source code. And the code is going to go ahead and go hosted into the code commit. The latest changes from the code commit will be pulled by the code pipeline. Code pipeline will start building the latest changes that are from the code commit contributed given by the developer. These changes will go ahead and be handed over to the code build. Code build will start doing the build process. And once the build process is done, it is going to give back to the pipeline. Pipeline takes up the build and start to deploy into the Elastic Beanstalk. So Elastic Beanstalk is a fully managed platform service offering from AWS Cloud. It's a PaaS model where we go and start doing a deployment of this application. So we expect this entire management to be done by AWS Cloud. So AWS Cloud does provision the cluster for you, provision instances for you, manage those instances for you, deploy those instances for you. So it does do the end-to-end management for you. So in a nutshell, code commit replaces your GitHub, code build will replace your Maven, code pipeline will replace your Jenkins, Elastic Beanstalk will replace your Packer, Terraform that we have been using. So it replaces much of the tools, or the tools that we have been using previously are getting replaced by the AWS specific services. So participants, if you are good enough, can we proceed further, everyone? Shall we go ahead and start doing the hands-on into it so that you will understand things much better? Are we good, participants? Can I get started with the implementation? Okay, so let's get started. So what is the first step? The first step is get started with the deployment. So participants, I could go ahead and start doing the step-by-step process. The only thing what I want to do is I want to save time. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and make this environment ready first. This environment takes another 3 to 5 minutes for me to build. So what I'll do is first build the environment. So let's go and start building the first Elastic Beanstalk environment. So let's go ahead and look for Elastic Beanstalk. You can type in Elastic Beanstalk, you'll get Elastic Beanstalk. The way that I want you to relate is go under services. You'll find computer service. and under that you will find Elastic Beanstalk. So how AWS brands the service Elastic Beanstalk? So it does come under compute service. Elastic Beanstalk is an end-to-end web application management. How they brand is Elastic Beanstalk is an easy to use service for deploying and scaling web applications. Okay. And services that are deployed with Java, .NET, PHP, Python, Go, and other services such as Apache, Nginx, and IIS. I don't think so. How it is working is not mentioned, but it is mentioned in the next line. You simply upload your code, cool, and Elastic Beanstalk automatically handles the deployment. That is from capacity provisioning. Very good. That means whatever the capacity that I need to do, that I need to have, is not going to be taken care by AWS. Elastic Beanstalk will take care for me. Does the load balancing, wow, and automatic scaling of web apps to do the health monitoring with ongoing fully managed patch and security updates. In a nutshell, Elastic Beanstalk is responsible for scaling, descaling, health of my instances or health of the application now, deploying the latest version of the application, doing the load balancing, and also it will take care of patch management of the underlying instances. So participants, it's really cool because I don't need to do much of the administration task. And if you look at the cost, there are no additional costs. There is no additional cost. What you will do, you will make a payment only for the services that you use, the resources that you create. So participants, then what we are awaiting for, we are just awaiting to get started the environment. So let me go ahead and hit the application. So we have this page asking create a web app, create a new application and environment with a sample application or bring your own code. By creating environment, Elastic Beanstalk to manage the Amazon Web Services resources and permissions on your behalf. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and give a name. This is called my app, EBS Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, and it asks me to go ahead and give tags. I'm not interested to put any tag. It's something that you can look later. Next, the most important is the platform selection. So participants, what kind of platform do you need to run your Java application? Anyone? Or tell me, participants, what is that you have been using to run your apps or your Java apps? Can anyone? I'll show you the platforms also. Look at the platform and do let me know. Participants, what is the platform that are you expecting from this Elastic Beanstalk? What platform are you expecting? Tomcat. Yeah, someone, please. Okay. So I heard if I'm correct, you guys are telling Tomcat. Yes, absolutely Tomcat. Why? Because we will have our source code. We will build our source code using CodeWheel. We will get our artifact, which is var package. Where do you want your artifact to be running? Inside the Tomcat. So let me go ahead and choose the Tomcat. The moment I go ahead and choose the Tomcat, I'll have the Tomcat running, and it is giving me the versions of Tomcat 8.5 with Corretto 11, which is a Java version running on Amazon 64 Linux 2 machine. Okay, cool. And it's a sample application. Okay, or you want to upload your code. I would like to go ahead and upload my code, but I would like to upload my code via the pipeline because I'm building a pipeline. So I'll right away start with the sample application and then create the app. So I have triggered the environment provisioning by creating an application. What Elastic Beanstalk will do, Elastic Beanstalk will take this application configuration from me involving the Tomcat environment and sample code. What does it do is on your screen. It started to create the environment. It will provision an S3 bucket where it will store the configuration of the environment. Then it will start creating the resources right from a load balancer, security group with a load balancer, then an instance. So things will keep on coming. We'll wait for a few minutes for this environment to be either ready, or just have a look at how these resources are created. Then I'll move further after you get to see what exactly is happening. So participants, now you can see the environment has been provisioned using the Elastic Beanstalk. And let's go ahead and do a check for this Elastic Beanstalk environment. Okay, now it says a sample page reference saying that you have been successfully able to provision a environment using Tomcat. So what we need, we did get started. So we have for a application, we have an environment. For this environment, you are getting a URL to resolve for the application my app EBS, and it is able to provision a server or an instance into which it provision Tomcat, and it is awaiting for our deployment. So what I'm going to do now, participants, using the pipeline, I will go ahead and start doing the deployment. So where does we need to get started from? So we need to go ahead and look at the list of services under developer tools. So AWS has a lot of developer tools. These tools are specific to a developer segment where you can find as simple as the source code, as simple as a build, test, a lot of services they have. So let's get started by the first service in our pipeline, which is our code commit. You can see here, code commit is also mentioned in the architecture involving the version control. So let's go ahead and pick the code commit. So participants, I've already created a repo. If you want to know how to create a repo, it's as simple as this. Right click, create a repo, give a name for this repo. So for example, my repo. That's it. After that, if you create it, it does get created. Nothing more than this. The only important point is you need to have certain credentials to go ahead and connect to this. So we will go ahead and start connecting to the service here. So let me just go ahead and show you how to create to that, how to connect to that repo code commit. And all the repos that you create are private. No public repositories are created here. So there's a repo. And let me show you the context of that repo. It's the same repo that I have. Web app and an index.jsp file. So this is a repo that I have. What I will do, I'll show you participants. Let me just get to clone this repo. So how to clone the repo? Very simple. Pick your version control. So clone the URL. I want to get a copy of this repository onto my system. So clone this repo and you can get started by using either your command prompt, even you can use your GitHub desktop. I'll first reach out to my desktop and say, Git, can you get a clone version of this instance? So it says there are some credentials which are very bad, and hence it is not able to go ahead and do the code commit. So participants, you will not be getting this error if you are getting out of the box this kind of error. This error means the credentials that you are using to clone your code commit are invalid. So participants, the credentials for a system can be found inside your machine under credential manager, and under Windows credentials you will find it. Okay, so what I'll do, participants, I will just quickly remove them. You will find under your code commit credentials are available here. Just remove them. With that, you will get to see the credential getting deleted. Okay, so now do one more time the clone commit. That means the credentials that you have used to clone the repo. So cloning the repo, these are, now the system will ask you, can you enter the credentials one more time? That means new credentials are required. This normally happens when your credentials are invalid. That was the reason for the first error. Now we have removed those bad credentials. Now we are awaiting for the new credentials. Participants, where you will find those credentials? Credentials, by the name itself, you have to imagine where these are available. So they will be available under IAM. Under the IAM, you will find you'll get to see that IAM service and click that IAM service. Right now, we are trying to go ahead and get those credentials. And you will find your credentials by hitting your user, IAM user, and you can go ahead and hit an IAM user. If you don't have, create one with admin privileges. And you will find under security credentials, the Git credentials. So I have these credentials. I'll remove them and I'll generate a new set of credentials. Generate the credentials. You'll find the credentials here. Download the credentials which are required. So let me first put the username and the password. So with this, the credentials will be available for the download and you'll be successfully able to copy. Now you are able to copy this repo successfully. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to open up this repo via my version control file, add the workspace, which is cc-alpha. The name of the repo is cc-alpha. Right. So let me just go ahead and show you the context of this entire folder. So there is a source code. There's a index.jsp file. So let me go ahead and do a change. Hello world, welcome to DevOps using CI/CD pipelines, code commit, code build, code deploy, Elastic Beanstalk, and code pipeline are the services that we are using. Just let's see the changes are applicable. So Control S, save the changes. I'm pulling up my terminal. Now, very simple, the same commands you will use. Git, add all the changes. Git, can you commit all the changes? -n. testing new changes. Git, would you like to push these changes hyphen up to the branch origin called master? That's all. The same commands are available here. Now let's go ahead and do a check whether these changes are getting reflected into our code commit. Code commit, could you please confirm the changes we have done? The name of the repo is cc-alpha, code commit-alpha. Source code, src folder, inside bit main folder, web app folder, index.jsp file. Cool. Now we are able to see the latest changes. So participants, now you are able to relate what is code commit. Code commit is the service that replaces your GitHub. So this service which replaces GitHub is a version control service, which is purely building or purely making things available for you are private repositories. So using code commit, we can build private repositories which are Git backed. So if you're good enough, can I have a quick round of confirmation from all of you? Participants, are we good?
Yes, sir.
So what is the next step in this process? The next step in this process is build. Your version control is ready. Your source code is ready. What is the next step? Build that step. So for that, I'm going to be using code build. So let me go ahead and pick the code build service. So let's hit the build service. This is a service that is also under the developer tools. So it says build and test your code with elastic scaling, pay for the time that you build it. Now to understand this, what is the build tool did we use, participants, for our previous project? What was our build tool? Hello guys, what was our build and test tool that we have used?
Maven.
Come on guys, after 1 month of spending the pipeline development, now if you don't know what is your build tool, how come it is? It's your Maven, guys. Did we not use Maven? So using Maven, we built it, we packaged the application. So for that, what we have done, we have installed Maven on our machine. We have installed Maven on our machine. Now, how this service is different from Maven? This service will be different from Maven in a sense that this service actually bundles Maven that you need, bundles that Maven as a Docker image and is made available to you. Now, let's forget about Docker at this moment. Another confusion will happen. So instead, what AWS will do, AWS will provision or the build server for you instead of you provisioning. AWS will install Maven in it instead of you installing it. Instead of managing that server, AWS will manage. So what AWS is, you get your code against the code build, you build it, and you let us know what amount of time that you need, maybe 1 minute for you to build the process. Okay, for 1 minute, you can use our server. Once it is done, the build is done, the server will be dropped. So what happens here? 1 minute is the amount of time that you have to be getting billed for using the Maven. Bill. Your billing is only going to happen only for 1 minute. Let's assume that the Maven takes 5 minutes for you to build the project. BIULD, build. Then for 5 minutes, the billing will. So here, you are not maintaining any server and install Maven in. Rather, AWS is provisioning a server for you, installing Maven into it, and using that Maven as a service, you can run it for the amount of time and pay back to AWS. So this way, you are least worried about the management of provisioning, installing, maintaining. All that stuff is taken away from you. You're just focusing on code, bringing your code and building your. That is what exactly you will do in code build. So participants, let's go ahead and create our own project then, involving the code build. So it'll ask you to go ahead and give a name. So I'm going to go ahead and give a name called code build service, CB code build for my app. Rest of things are optional. You can put them aside. It will ask you to consider the source. Source we have already considered as our code commit. And you get to see not only code commit, other services also. What is the repository we are required to use? There are two repositories that I have, my repo and cc-alpha, where my code is available under cc-alpha. What kind of strategy would you like to use or reference would you like to use to pull the code? Is it your branch or any latest commit that you want to put? At this moment, I would like to go ahead and associate with the branch. That means using the branching as a technology, I would like to go ahead and associate it. Choose a branch. For that, the master branch is the branch that I'm going to be choosing. That means whatever the latest changes that go ahead and get part of the branch called master, those changes will be picked from the branch master. And it is asking me what kind of environment that you have. The environment that I want to go ahead and consider is a custom image that you want to bring. No, I don't want to bring any custom image. I want to go ahead and use an Ubuntu machine into the latest Ubuntu machine. I want to have a standard environment with the standard image that is available. Standard image means most of the build tools are available in it, like Maven, other build tools like Make, Make will be available. That means those tools will be installed by AWS. So nothing to worry from your side. And let the AWS to create the role for you, because it's role. Why? Because code build has to build the project on your behalf to pull the code from code commit and build it. So it has to have that role. So let the role be given by AWS. Now, the next step is build spec. So build spec is all about the specifications that you want to mention in your system. That system needs to have, or the code build should know how to do the build. It should go ahead and clean the system. It should go ahead and do the package. So participants, we have been using very simple commands like Maven clean and package. We have used Maven clean and package as the command. So system should know what are those commands. Participants, it would have been very straightforward if you put the commands. The commands are Maven clean and Maven test, Maven package, for example. Very straightforward. But what I want to do is I want to use the other method, which is build spec file and which is recommended. This is a recommended method. So it is expecting a new file. The name of the file is called buildspec.yml file. It will go and look for that file. By default, code build looks for a file called buildspec.yml file, which should be inside the root of your directory. If build spec file uses different name, mention its path. If you don't mention its path, it will look in the default. Now, what exactly is build spec file? So if you type in build spec.yml file, so it will go ahead and show you the reference of AWS documentation for the code build. So build spec.yml file is a important reference file which will be used by your code build. So AWS build spec is a collection of build commands and related settings in YAML format that code build uses to run a build service. You can include a build spec as part of the source code or define the build spec when you want to create a project. Yes. So let's go ahead and look at an example. and you'll understand this. So an example is given where he has given a version, environment variables that you would like to use, the different phases in your build process, and the reports that you want to generate, the artifacts that I want to use. So participants, what I have done, I have used the same logic, this code, and I've written a build file already here, buildspec.yaml file. So what is the context of this build spec file? The context of the build spec file, I'll put it for you people. Version, phases, the artifact, and the application. So version, I let it whatever it. What are the different phases? Different phases are what do you want to do as part of the installation? I want to go ahead and install Maven into it. The installation. What I want to do as part of the build process, I want to go ahead and do the build process of clean and package. I want to go ahead and do the cleaning and the package. There are different stages. Under the stages, you can see install, build, post build. After build, what you want to do? You want to go ahead and get a confirmation that the build is completed. So these are the different stages. I would say phases. What are the different phases? Install phase. What do you want to do under the install phase? I want to say it has entered into the install phase. Updates are taken and install Maven. Next, build phase. What is that? Build Maven, clean and package. Then what I want to do is I want to go ahead and do a post build. I want to go ahead and tell after the build is done, the build is completed successfully. That are the different phases. Now artifacts. What do you mean by an artifact? As you're all aware, that artifacts relates to the idea of building the source code. So whenever we have a source code, we go ahead and build our source code, we get an artifact. So I'll be going ahead and looking for this artifact under the target folder, my app. After that, it might have something. I just kept it as star. So whatever it is, it should go ahead and identify this target. So let me double confirm. The name I've given is my app. Okay, cool. So it will go ahead and consider the build spec file, the target file as my app. So I'll go ahead and find the artifacts here, and I'll be able to get to see the application running with this artifact. That artifact is equal to my app.power file. So participants, that simple it is to write a build spec file. If you go ahead and expand it, you will find everything. Artifacts. What I want to do is I want to go ahead and yes, the complete build spec file is given. So this build spec file is sufficient for me to build my application. And what you want to do is, what do you want to do with your artifacts? I want to go ahead and upload the artifacts into my S3 bucket. Bucket can be anything. I would like to go ahead and use my bucket, one of the bucket where the artifacts will be uploaded. And I want to see what is happening inside the artifacts. I want to go ahead and create a CloudWatch. So CloudWatch logs, code build, CloudWatch logs, code build. Just a moment, guys. So participants, let's go ahead and continue CloudWatch and then stream to see the data. Now let's go back to our stages. So let's check a one or two instances into it. Right now, as per the Elastic, we can provision another instance. It has provisioned a load balancer for you. And from our side, what we have done, or into those instances, it has provisioned Tomcat into it. From our side, what more we have taken the role as a developer. We did create a code commit service. We put our code there. Inside that code, we have the source code for the application. We have the build spec file for the code build spec file, which is a must file by your code build. Code build file. In this file, what we have mentioned, the stages that what we want to do as part of the build process and the packet we want to generate. So now what we are awaiting participants is to go ahead and connect all these stages with this pipeline. So I want to use the code pipeline to connect with all these stages. So go ahead and pick the pipeline service. You will find the pipeline service here. So what pipeline service? AWS pipeline service is a continuous integration and a continuous delivery service, which is a CI/CD pipeline service. Okay. The CI/CD pipelines built using code pipelines, AWS code pipelines. So let's get started by creating a pipeline. Into this pipeline, we will be required to go ahead and give the different stages of the pipeline that you want to use. First, the name code pipeline -alpha. Thereafter, let the role be given by AWS itself. Now, it'll ask you where is the source. Participants, where is the source? Where is the source? Participants, where is the source? Code commit. Branch alpha. Master is the branch. Repo is alpha. Branch is the master. Next, we have next as an option. So we'll go ahead and proceed. Before that, a very interesting observation you should look in. So this pipeline, choose a detection mode to automatically start your pipeline when the changes occur in your source code. Means assume that there are some changes in your source code. So those changes will go ahead and start your CloudWatch events. These CloudWatch events will go ahead and trigger your pipeline. Your pipeline is expected to start whenever the changes happen from your code command. So participants, are you now able to relate? Now this pipeline is self-sufficient to get started and go ahead and track the changes in the code commit. And when those changes in the code commit get tracked, pipeline will get started. So let's go ahead and proceed further to the next. The next step is to go ahead and build the pipeline. We have the build pipeline. Code build pipeline. So pipeline involving the code build, the name of the pipeline, the name of the build service is code build service, CB my app. Proceed further. How do you want to deploy? I want to deploy into cloud formation. Sorry, Elastic Beanstalk. Yes, Elastic Beanstalk. Under Elastic Beanstalk, yeah, under Elastic Beanstalk, we have our Elastic Beanstalk application, my app EBS, and under that we have one environment. So with that, participants, we have our environment ready. There's a review for our pipeline, and let's go ahead and create a pipeline. Now you can see there's an entire pipeline. Let me show you the entire pipeline now. Yeah. You can notice now there is a source as part of a pipeline. There's a build that is going to be happening. There's a deployment that is going to be happening. All the stages are associated into this pipeline. Source, build, test, and deploy. So let's await and confirm, participants, if it is working. So build is ongoing. If you want to see the build, you can hit details. You'll get to see what is happening in the build. Cool, guys. Build has been successful. We got the artifact generated. My app.var package is generated. So build did worked out. Let's see how it is getting deployed into Elastic Beanstalk or via Elastic Beanstalk, how it is getting deployed, the pipeline. Pipeline still is in progress. Elastic Beanstalk, it is getting through. Okay, cool. Now even the deployment is done into the Elastic Beanstalk. So participants, let me just go ahead and give you the URL. You guys can confirm me. Participants, please go ahead and give me confirmation. Are you able to resolve this environment? I'm sharing this link in the chat window, and I will also go ahead and do a check from my end. Yeah, it is resolving to the Apache server. Yeah. My app application. Good. It worked out. So it's working for me, participants. Could you please confirm this URL? I'm sharing this URL one more time for you. Click this. You should be able to go ahead and see the changes now. Participants, everyone are able to see the changes.
Yes, Kumar.
Welcome. So now participants, now how things happen in real life. This is how things happen via the CI/CD pipeline for the release process. Now to make it more, more clear in terms of the deployment, what I'm going to do is now I'm going to go ahead and use a service from AWS called DNS service, which is just to convert this complex URL into a meaningful domain name. Participants, this is not this service is available in AWS, but it's chargeable for you. Straight away, it will ask you to buy. You have to buy that service. So DNS service in AWS, we call it as Route 53. So Route 53 is a DNS service that is available in AWS, which is a chargeable service, which is not available for free of cost in AWS cloud. So what is this DNS service? You will understand now. So DNS service stands for, or the DNS stands for domain name service, where you can go ahead and turn complex URLs by turning them into domains. For that, you need to buy a domain. Like, for example, you want to buy a domain called mycloud.com, for example. This is a cloud that you want, URL you want to. So it will ask you to go ahead and do a registration for that domain if it is available for you to purchase. Yeah, it's unavailable. We have other clouds for mycloud.com, mydeploy.net. So some kind of required to buy. From my side, I don't recommend. I have a domain that is already running, which is under the name of ssadcloud.com. Now I will go ahead and do a resolution of this ssadcloud.com into my EBS URL. Just watch out how will I do. This is not required for you to practice. This is just to show you how real-time DNS resolution is done. So you'll go to that domain that you have placed. There's a host zone. Into that hosted zone, you have this domain, to which hosted zone means all your DNS resolutions are placed in that hosted zone. So what I want to do now, I want to create a record. That record says a simple record I will use. What is that record? The record is when the user types in www.ssadcloud.com, google.com, some kind of domain name he types in. At the backend, it should go and resolve to our environment, Elastic Beanstalk. What is our region? Ohio is our region. What is the Elastic Beanstalk? My app, Elastic Beanstalk. And define this simple record set. Now, participants, I hope now you are able to relate. Instead of giving this complex URL for the end user to remember. Now I have provisioned a simple DNS name that a user can easily remember. Now, participants, everyone, please type in this domain name www.ssadcloud.com/my app. Can you go ahead and please confirm me, participants? Are you able to resolve this application or my app on this DNS name? So it might take some time, but it will resolve. Participants, do check it out. Is that you are able to resolve the domain name? I'm placing the URL here in the chat window. Could you please confirm, check and give me a confirmation? Is it something that you are able to resolve? From my side, it is taking time. Hope it also gets resolved at your end quickly. Are you getting the same output as of mine? This is the output is
Yes, Kumar.
So participants, this is how in real life situations things are handled. Now you see the power of this domain. Wait and watch, participants. This is how releases will happen. Now let me show you how to do a release. So let me go now to code commit, or let me go and make the changes. See, without doing, now the pipeline is self-sufficient. So I'll say thank you all. Yours, DevOps engineer. Okay, now I'll add these changes for the release. Git add, git commit, releasing new changes. Git, can you push these changes? -u origin upwards, master. Done, participants. So participants, go ahead and give me a confirmation. Is this changes are getting resolved? It will take time, maybe about a minute or two, for the resolution to happen. But participants, do let me know, are you able to resolve it? Now you see, I haven't done anything except the change in the source code. I've just made changes in the source code. That's all. Now the pipeline is self-sufficient. That's what I'm about to say. Pipeline is sufficient to pull the latest changes. By now, pipeline should have already started the process. It should have pulled by now the changes. Yeah, it's already pulled the changes. See, releasing the new changes. That was the change that I've done. Started to build, and it will do the deployment also. Another few minutes, you should be able to do. You should be able to go and see the changes. No, it is not happening now, but it will happen. So let's wait for that. Anyone able to notice the changes, participants, into your pipeline or into the URL? Do you see any changes coming in? The new changes coming in? There you go. Participants, I'm able to get it done. The new changes I'm able to. So participants, are we good now? How powerful is my system? The changes are done from the developer side. Developer will make the changes. The pipeline will pull the changes, build the changes, test them, deploy my Elastic Beanstalk into my environment, and how I'm able to resolve my application with the latest changes. Can I have a quick round of confirmation from all of you people? How is that happening? Once again, into the architecture. So developer is making the changes. Code commit is able to hold the latest changes, pull the latest changes. Those changes are given to code commit. Code commit will go and bring those changes to code build. Code build will go and build the project. Artifact is generated and given back to code pipeline. Code pipeline will pull the artifact and deploy into Elastic Beanstalk instances, which are fully managed by AWS Cloud. And there's a load balancer that we are resolving. So this AWS Cloud environment, we are trying to resolve via the Amazon Route 53, which is a DNS service. So it's a fully functional real-time deployment that I've done people along with you. That's how real-time deployments are done, people. So participants, have you understood now the power of CI/CD pipelines? Everyone, are we good? Participants, are we good?
Yes.
Yes, Kumar.
Now, with your confirmation, now let me go ahead and bring down the resources that are provisioned. So quickly, I will show how to bring down the services. So the last service that I provisioned was a Route 53 service. So I'll drop the Route 53 service, the DNS. Participants, if you have any questions, do let me know. So this is our hosted zone. Another hosted zone, you will find the DNS service. In that, there will be one record that I've used to deploy this DNS. And let me go ahead and delete this record. So if I delete this record, DNS will not be able to resolve it. DNS doesn't know what is this URL. From the pipeline segment, I have a pipeline, so I'll drop this pipeline now. Because that was a next after service code to the Route 53. We have a build service that we have created, build a project we have created. So we'll drop that build a project also. If you don't want to maintain the build history, you can even drop the build history also. You can see there are build histories that we have looked in. Drop those builds. There are other builds, so don't need to worry about it. Source code. I will drop the source code and I will share this code with all of you people. You can use this code. And a sample repo that we have created. Delete that repo. And the Elastic Beanstalk environment. You can select this environment. The application itself we will delete. So application. And participant, the advantage of using the application is you can have this environment, right? As this environment. Let's assume that this is a dev environment. You can go ahead and get a copy of this environment. Clone this environment, like test environment. Another copy, development environment, test environment, now staging environment, then production environment. So you can have, for the same application, you can have multiple environments, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can have up to 5 environments or any number. But for now, as an example, let's keep 5 environments. So an application has 5. So after the application is chosen, you can choose out of 5 environments, which environment you want to release. Dev, QA, prod, even that conveyance is available. So let's go ahead and delete the environment also. Application. Delete. Okay. So let me go ahead and share this deployment source code with all of you. So the repo I will share with all of you people, code commit -repo. Into S3 bucket. Upload. Add a file. Where is the desktop? My desktop. Yes, this is the repo. Deployment is done successful. Here are the code participants. The code is shared with you. Please go ahead and confirm me the same. Are you able to download it? Are you able to download it, participants? Participants are able to download it. Thank you.
Yes, Kumar.